Welcome everyone. Finally, it's officially, publicly, we're out here to get you safely to the new areas of Odd Sparks. It's our third stream, so some of us might already know each other. If not, we're gonna meet everyone in this chat in a minute. So, with a new update, we thought we were gonna give you a quick preview of what is coming. But it's dangerous to go alone, so we're going with you. Brendan, you already know. He's the mastermind behind the entire Oddsparks thing. And then we have two more people whose work you have already seen and heard, but you haven't met them yet. Our senior artist Lucas is the person behind those creatures that are so cute that you're dying to kill them. We'll meet some of them in this stream. And Ollie, you probably talked to him, I'm sure. If you reported a bug or something and you got help, that's probably him. You definitely heard uh, his creations in the game. And he is the person, he is the blame for the earworm of the entire office and probably 60 or 70% of the Discord here. The Spark callback sound, I'm sure every one of us can already remember that. Is it true that you had to learn to play the flute for that thing to make it?
So, it was like a parallel thing. So my partner gifted me the Christmas before we started working on the game. She gifted me this little cheap flute, and I learned a bit of it. But then when the idea came to have it actually in the game, and the idea was also to it can sound a bit crappy because it's just the player character is not like a very like a crazy musician, but it's just playing it very raw. Like I thought, well, I can also just play it raw and learn it a bit. For making it happen in the game, I had to learn a bit playing the flute.
And also another plot twist, not just that, but Ollie was in charge of making some of the evil creatures that we'll meet today. So it's not gonna be only about music and the visuals. So I think, Brendan, can you take us safely to the new area?
Yeah, sure. So, everyone, thanks for coming. And we asked you guys what you wanted to know about our new update with the hot biome or the cold biome, mostly, right? And we're gonna take you through to our hot biome, so you can see. So right now, I'm currently in the edge of the mountains, and you can see like a little spoiler here, like some of the map I have already. And you can see the cold biome too. So this is kind of the size of our new update. And as we go past the mountains in the northwest, northeast, a little bit perhaps even close to the juvenile elephants that you've maybe seen before, see the entrance to the hot biome. And in here, as you can see, there are sort of these burnt trees, ashen bushes, obsidian boulders, and everything here is a little hot, as you might guess. Call it hot and cold, including even the bunnies. And you can see there's some fire bunnies who will attack you, and if we try to attack back, let's see,
Those things
they
are
will.
vicious.
Yeah, they will burn your sparks before trying to run away. Yeah, so you can. So it's kind of like an introduction to some of the fire mechanics that we were about to see, kind of like inside of the caves. And they shouldn't be too hard, but you might lose a few sparks. But we'll tell you more about how to deal with fire in a moment as we actually go inside the caves properly.
Regarding the Spanies, I have a question to the
Yeah.
two people in here who were in charge of all the evil stuff. Who of you two genetically modified the usual Spanish so that it became so spicy?
Yeah, so the game design, I think Ollie, it's you.
I mean,
I'm-
so I was actually already out of working on enemies when we introduced them. I think it was Sebastian's doing actually. I only know that we at some point we realized we needed a very basic enemy just at the start of both biomes, and So we came up with just like reintroducing these bunnies, but in a slightly more challenging way that also shows off a bit the new elements and their effects.
So nobody's to blame here.
Yeah, nobody here except
Everybody.
Sebastian.
But one quick note: the visuals of the Spunny World changed. It's currently just material coloring. We will have a new version of the Spunny. I'm currently working on that.
Oh, spoilers. Yeah, I see the transformation of the Spawny is not yet complete, so there are experiments going on right behind me.
Yeah, so we can then show more into the actual cave. So as you can see, there's something here that you can't really see further in, and it's because we have the actual cave itself. Ooh. And yeah, like in here, there's I've already sort of placed some stuff, but now we get to sort of show off like our digging mechanics and what's in here. So the cave, obviously, it's a little dark, and we have some glowing mushrooms to help light the way. But basically, the cave is in fact full of stuff. So we have these. We internally call them diggables. So we have like dirt, which any spark can dig out, and basically you with these layers of dirt and rock and all these sort of things, you can kind of give them a bigger order, and they'll try to take care of it. If an item drops, then they'll pick it up and come back. But otherwise, they will try to actually complete the order that you've sort of given them. So you can sort of like, hey, I want to go all the way over there, and it will actually send it off, and they will try to get to the location and dig it out. There's lots of different types of diggables as well. So, for example, the dirt can be broken by anyone, but the rock, for example, through the wrong spark, cannot be dug by cutting and blood damage. So you kind of need you need an arsenal of sparks with you to basically, to help you explore the caves. There's also like different types of rocks and diggables. So we're going to go all the way up here. And if you're feeling it's a little slow, then you can obviously, by this time, you should have some of these guys with you, and they'll make the digging a little faster. But sometimes, as you can see, there's hazards, so you have to like watch out for glowing rocks, because then sometimes there might actually be a geyser or a molten pit inside, and you'll need to break them when things are a little bit quieter. So if your sparks are in fact on fire, which is obviously not great, what you can do is send them over to the fog, which you've already seen around, right, in the mountains, and turns out it actually has a use instead of just slowing you down, and that you can actually, these poor sparks, to actually stop your sparks from burning. And you can sort of walk into them or have your sparks walk into them, and they'll extinguish your fire. There's obviously further ways to extinguish your sparks, like with using cold sparks, but the fog is one of the ways that you can do it early on. So you can, let's also show a different feature that we have, the spark loadout. So you can get your puffies and take some fog around with you as you travel. So that you can then stop your sparks from being on fire if they end up doing so. And as we explore, let's go back to this one. There's also obviously enemies around in the place. You might have already seen it from our work in progress channel, but we have this little guy, the little Crangolin, his little crab pangolin mix. He's a little baby, but you should not underestimate this baby, because this baby can set things on fire. And does this fun making rubble, which it slows you down, slows your sparks down, but you can destroy it. So It's just so it's kind of there meant to kind of like gum up a specific area, like a little bit of a soft area denial fight, basically. That's kind of the thing with that one. Yeah.
So the thing with that one, speaking of that one, I think it's a perfect question for Lucas. Why does that creature look like that? It's so cute that it's just itching. I'm just itching to kill it, but why does it look like that?
It's a kind of a little teaser for its mother or dad, which we also will counter, which is a bigger version of that one. Yeah, it kind of teases the attacks and the mechanics of the bigger one. So yeah.
How did you come up with that look? That's quite an interesting mix of animals.
Yeah, we kind of always have the mix of two creatures. We always have in the woodlands we have insects and mammals, and here this one is a pangolin and mixed with some crab features. So yeah, that was the basic idea. And we started with the big one. Maybe we can find a big one, and I can talk a little bit more about the design choices that we made.
Yeah, we'll show that one in a moment after as we go along. But yeah.
Also, with this creature, why does it was it intentional that the baby version walks like a baby, like a toddler?
Yes, the animation was actually done by Tori. It was even more toddlery before, but yeah, everybody liked the animation, and we stayed with it. It's the little baby of the big one, and yeah, it's supposed to be a cute little version of the big one.
It's cute but deadly.
Yes.
So let's go find what's next and maybe the big and deadly one.
Sure. So let's also talk a little bit about the. So I need to turn both on. We can talk a little bit about the next one, and some other spots as well. So in digging, so as I just talked before, there's like different damage types that's sort of required. There's also extra hard layer of stone called obsidian that not even that even your strongest sparks right now will not be able to do. You'll require new sparks like these guys. This is the Drilly spark. Drilly spark, and these are special one-use sparks that will help you carve out anything that you need. You just throw, they get ready, and they wait. Wrong direction. Where's the guy going? Also tried to show something off and then doesn't work. Let's see. Well, that's a very fun bug. Where it's not going the direction I want it to. But as you can see, it drives forward and drills onto hardstone and onto anything else that you want it and need it to be. And we'll have that bug fixed by release. And then yeah, it disappears and it carves out some space for you. We also have one more spark that we wanted to show you, which are the freezing sparks. So we have both a freezing and a burning spark since it's hot and cold, and the freezing spark can use things, as you might have guessed, which includes sort of like freezing up and dealing AoE damage. That's basically what they do, but they can also do things like remove lava. So as we, even though the caves are kind of dangerous and have these lava, you can remove these areas and make kind of some space for yourself, and also possibly then end up facing big guys like this one.
Yeah. Should I
this one-
talk about the big one?
Yeah.
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 This is the big Crangolin. The what's it called? Monolith.
Megalith,
Megalith.
Crangolin.
Megalith. Oh.
Yes, because
Yeah.
this is the stone itself is megalith.
Yeah. So it also does the attack. The attack is split up into right hand and left hand attack. Maybe if you go a bit closer, you can show it
Yeah,
again.
it's
that
gonna-
it's-
There you
so
go.
it's
So yeah,
first the
one hand.
right. The next time will be the left one. The idea here was the basic idea was to have a big, slow-moving, tanky enemy in this really tight space that also changes the environment. So it also does the big AoE, as you can see here. The big AoE is obviously way larger than on the small one. And yeah, there's it doesn't only make the small debris on the ground with the attack, but also these big spikes. And the one mechanic to make your life easier is to destroy these spikes. They fall onto the Crangolin if you're lucky, and they do a lot of damage.
So you can give the Crangolin a taste of its own medicine with those spikes.
Yes, exactly.
Sounds good. So since we're already at the topic of weird animal hybrids, can't help asking, what is the weirdest stuff you had to Google for reference?
The weirdest stuff for me was actually a leatherback turtle. It's not obvious. It's just this giant majestic turtle. But if you then Google mouth of a leatherback turtle, then you get fuel for nightmares. It's the whole mouth and throat is just covered with spikes.
Ow.
So that's the weirdest thing for me.
Do not
Sure, it's
Google
beautiful.
reference. I haven't
Google
seen
it.
that, and I'm not sure I'm gonna Google that. I'm gonna dare to do that. And with this creature, you already revealed one trick to deal with it is to hit it with those spikes that you push down. Is there any, Oli? Do you have your ways to deal with this kind of creature?
I mean, that's like with this specific one, it's like the only real real thing you need to keep in mind. So, like not attacking it directly, but just really focusing on the pillars and trying to avoid this fire. You really don't want your sparks to get burned.
And of course, we can hear that sound of danger. Oli, do you have any fun story behind the sound of this monster?
This one specifically, not really, but maybe like I can tell that it's my voice. But
So you're
slowed
the evil
down a
one.
lot. But yeah, other than that, like there's nothing really specific to highlight.
Well, that's already super interesting that it's you now. Now it's like more more of a connection to our team, and it's quite entertaining when the voice recordings are happening in here. And speaking
Yeah,
of
exactly.
which,
Like I mean, I don't know if everybody knows this, but like all the Spark voices we have in the game are voiced by our team members. We didn't hire proper professionals, but we just did it ourselves. And also, the same goes for the NPC voices or the enemy voices. The ones that are voiced are done by us, and then heavily modified.
so it's always quite hard to keep a straight face in a meeting when there is the spark, when you can hear spark noises or potential spark noises of monsters from the sound room. So I would say we're having a lot of fun with that as well.
Yeah, it's always super fun to see the reactions when you come out of the studio and everybody heard it.
Exactly. And I have a question for everybody in this chat. What is your favorite creature and why?
In the game,
It-
hmm. I think I like the Prowlets. They're not. I really like that they kind of just are very like aggressive and sometimes like they just they're just cute. It's very cute to see like these weird big tadpoles going around fighting against each other. So that's one that I like.
I also like the Crangolins, but I also really like one of the cold biome enemies. Maybe we can get to a teaser in the end.
Actually, why
Or
not? Maybe we can go there now.
we can go there now.
Yeah. And meanwhile,
talk
as we're on the
about
way, Ollie, what about your favorite?
So visually, it's very clear. It's the Crangolin. It's just so adorable. I love the animation and the eyes. It looks so goofy. But like from my sound perspective, so the enemy that we actually very close by to is the favorite one I had to work on because there's just so much going on and there's so many effects and like I had to be very creative with this enemy and it was the most fun for me to work on.
Sounds fun also to defeat. And now I think we're in danger. Holy cats. Look at that.
Yes, this one is probably one of my favorites because I like the concept. The idea was to have something lurking under these we call it space ice pools that is kind of preying around and coming up and attacking you, and then it also jumps on you and tries to grab something. Oh, yeah. And the ice breath goes all the way around, and if sparks get hit, they get frozen, and you have to either attack the enemy now, or you can try and break your sparks free. So the jump attack wouldn't hit the sparks because it prefers to jump on frozen sparks. So yeah, that's to me a pretty cool dynamic fight. So you have to break open your sparks and also try and fight the enemy at the same time.
Well, with this creature, we're definitely walking on thin ice. Well, literally, we're walking on thin ice. Was it like that from the very beginning, or was it like the initial concept of it, or was it something different?
The initial concept was to have something big under the ice that is coming up. So the basic concept is still the same. What changed is the breath, that the breath is going all the way around, and also that the sparks get pushed away from the breath, so it gets some space to actually jump some distance and not jump back into the same place. So there are some game design decisions that were changed from the initial concept.
Well, yeah, this creature you'll encounter, and I don't know about you friends in the chat, but I feel cold already just looking at that thing. So maybe we escape back to the workplace, Brenton. How about that? And also, how did you come up with the idea of digging? Like, why exactly that?
So in regards to the hot biome, we basically have been kind of fiddling around with the idea of caves for a little bit because we think it's kind of exciting to have this sort of difference in going from one place to another. We were like sort of think about different ideas. But basically, once we figured, oh yeah, we can actually have a cave and have all of these things, it just immediately made sense to have something like digging. And then you can really then, it's like we've all played Minecraft. I don't know. And it's just there's this nice kind of appeal, and obviously, carving out or like like the space for yourself and for where you're gonna build or whatever you need. And as you explore, so it feels quite nice. And yeah, there's lots of different things that you can kind of clean up and clear up and possibly get stuff. So here's some shiny rock that drops copper, for example, while the regular rock rarely drops some geodes and that kind of stuff. So as you kind of break things up, you get some fun stuff and are rewarded. Oh yeah, this guy's still running. Oh, we're not going to talk about that one. We're not going to close that. We'll just run away. Yeah. I guess now we can very quickly talk about our other feature that we want to talk about here, which is the temperature automation. So this is we have the hot biome and the cold biome, or the volcanic caves and the glacial plateau, and they're kind of they are hot and cold, both in the sense of like they have enemies that burn you and freeze you, but they also have temperature. So if we're going to, and we're gonna actually show also this new preset stuff. So let's put down an etheric distiller. So we already talked about this a little bit in the last devlog, but just in case you didn't know, basically like what we're adding to the game is that every single recipe in the game now has an optimal temperature. It's just been the case that every single recipe has had this optimal temperature, including all of your old ones, but it's just never been too much of, it just didn't matter yet. Because if I build here in the etheric distiller, you see that the temperature is like on 0 is already at 100%. So the optimal temperature here being 3, here in the hot biome, you get this extra 120. Now that it's at +1, you get actually 125%, which means that you can kind of figure out like, okay, what part of my base do I want to build in the hot biome? What part of my base do I want to build in the cold biome? What part of my base do I want to build in kind of the regular middle part? And you can also use things like the heater and the cooler to up the local temperature. And you're like, oh, how do I see the local temperature? Well, we have a new overlays system. So you can change. So here we have the logic overlay, but we can change the overlay to temperature. And now you can see the temperature of everything around you. So this is at 0, this is at +1. And you can also see very quickly the buildings and basically what temperature that they're on, just like the little one, right? The +0 here. But most importantly, then what efficiency are they running at because of the temperature? So as you can see, this is running at 100%, but this is running at 125. And if we use the heater so this is heating local area to temperature level 0, and then if we add 2 sparks, let's just add the crashing spark, it doesn't matter which one. You can see this beautiful effect. It raises the local temperature here to +3, so it raises it by 2, and then this you have the regular temperature is +1. So now this is at 150%, and we can even see that if we very quickly. Let's see. Yes, perfect. So with 2 crashy sparks, this is running at 2.5 per minute, and in here, this is now running at 3.8 per minute. So yeah, you can basically use both the heater and the cooler. You can also cool the area. Yes, as you can see, you can also cool it down so that it's lower efficiency. So it's like at 75%. They kind of interact with each other in the sense of that they can cancel each other out. A heater and a cooler can cancel each other out. But if you put 2 coolers next to each other, they do not stack. So this means that you have to actually use the land itself, and you can't just like put multiple coolers to make everything into a -5, which is where the temperature range just goes from -5 to +5. Yeah, and that's kind of at the core of it. Like, and hopefully you can kind of get a lot more new kind of decision making, right, in the automation. You're like, okay, what's worth getting to 150%? What's worth just 100% is fine, and how do you build it carefully? so that the so that you actually get something that is kind of okay, and you don't accidentally go all the way to I don't know, the 50% or even 0%, because you can do that where some buildings require an optimal temperature of 5 or -5, and that means you can actually end up running something at 0. But yes, that's kind of the new layer that we've just added.
Speaking of
Yeah.
layers, how does this work with logic, or does it work with logic?
I mean, sure, like it can. Everything itself can be turned on and off with logic, because these are like spark slots as per usual, so you can just turn them on and off. And then, but for most instances, you probably won't have necessarily a reason to. I mean, it may be that you want to change the efficiency of something in real time, so you can see like, oh, I have too many things, then let me turn the heater off or the cooler off, or like, oh, I need actually some more of something faster, let's turn the heater and cooler on. You can do that with the existing logic system.
I'm sure and actually know that we have a lot of almost automation pros in this chat. If you would compare our temperature system with that in any other game, which game would that be?
I mean, there are lots of games where, obviously, like automation games, where you can get a little bit of extra automation percentage, basically depending on sort of temperature and those sort of things. But we didn't kind of directly crib off anything specifically, unlike so. So, for example, a lot of our logic stuff is sort of like we look directly at oxygen included, but this one we kind of like, okay, we wanted a temperature system, and we kind of like designed everything from the ground up, just because we wanted it to be simpler. So like that's why the range just goes from -5 to +5, and we try to make everything to keep things interesting, basically, but without without making you having to like work too much for it, basically. But you can get that extra 125% or hopefully 150.
Those stations, if we stop for a minute, we can hear the noises also of those workstations. Ollie, how did you come up with that?
With the workstation sounds?
Yeah.
Not sure how to answer this. I just try to make something that sounds appropriate. I know of the cooler, we had some problems aligning it with the animation, so I went for something that sounded more airy and propeller-ish. But the heater, for instance, is also quite conservative. Like it's just supposed to be a heater. I think like we haven't showed this yet, but there are like other buildings that I think are sound-wise a bit more interesting, like everything related to incubation and the greenhouse and
Spoilers.
I'm spoiling a bit. I'm sorry.
Nothing to be sorry for. That is a good idea. I should have that teaser. So yeah, stay tuned for that, and also the soundtrack for the new locations. We already heard a sneak peek in the Friday snack room. So here is another thing to look forward to. And you'll be arriving, or we all be arriving to this new location from the woodlands or from the mountains. The new resources, new creatures, new plants. Brandon, can you please tell us more about what you can find and how you can put it to good use right away? So you find some resources, and then what?
I guess then, yeah, like something that's kind of interesting is that like in both like in with the new update, we basically split the paths off. So that's why we also like talked about like, oh, which one do you want to see more of, the cold biome or the hot biome first? Because you kind of first when you enter the new tier 7, you can basically are allowed to focus on the drilling and sort of taking care of that stuff, or you can kind of go on the hot biome on the cold biome and look more at botany or incubate. Like incubation is kind of like our in-game, our in-company term, in development term for it. But in-game we call it botany, like where you grow greenhouse and plants in the greenhouse in the arboretum. But yeah, I guess the thing in here, or what's important in here in the hot biome, is that there's a lot of copper. Or like that's a lot of the new metals that you have to sort of like as you dig and explore. So as you can see here, there are some giant ore deposits. It's a new harvestable or new infinite resource. Let's dodge the molten pit. Here that requires the ore miner building to harvest, and we can even sort of let this one down. And what's kind of making it very different, if you don't mind the guys, is that yeah, it actually has it depletes over time. It still is an infinite resource, so you don't have to worry about like completely running out. But we want to encourage you to keep exploring into the caves, keep growing kind of more and more of the ore stuff. As you can see, there's also some like there's some kind of in the like later areas as well. So maybe you can have to sort of consider, okay, how do I connect all of these or as many of these as you feel like, so that you can get the output that you want. There are also more ways to get copper, but we'll talk about those, I suppose. Or I guess you'll find out about those later.
And when you enter this this area, you probably have the sparks from other areas. You don't yet have the local sparks, so-called local sparks. And what can you mine with the ones that you already have from the previous biomes?
So you can basically mine almost everything except for, as I said, the ultra hard stuff. There's some things that are made out of obsidian that you will need other sparks to take care of. So even our very strong sort of crashy spark, our crashy spark can take it, but some other sparks will not be able to. But yeah, there's actually I've just shown you two different kinds of sort of like this. You have the dirt and the rock. But there's even one more thing that is maybe even a little bit more interesting and fun. Is there's also some mushroom and mycelium here in the in the caves, and those you will need. Let's see, do we have some? Well, I think the Crashy Spark cannot. Yeah. You will need some slashy or some choppy to cut down and go through these very hard roots. And we also have something kind of interesting. It's like noxious tangle. What is that? Misty mushrooms. But yes, so with the old sparks or like the sparks from tier 6 and 7, you can kind of explore a lot of it. But as you can see here, this particular color, this is the obsidian that you'll find very difficult to dig, and you need to find the Drilly Spark Shrine first and use those to kind of look and properly explore through the caves.
With a Drilly Spark, the new one. What about the sound of that? That is quite something. That's probably one of the most entertaining sounds in the upcoming update. Ollie, do you have some story behind that?
I'm not sure like whose idea it was. It wasn't mine, but like somebody mentioned like since it's like a very like the nose is really visually the focus of it. It does its thing with its nose. Somebody said like maybe close the nose for recording it, and that's what we did. And it was actually the first time that Marco, like one of our programmers, did voices for it, and I think he did an excellent job. Like I always have to chuckle when the Drillies drill. It's really fun.
So the drillers are literally, it's Marco. Marco is the human of Botany that you definitely know from the Pat's channel. And the cooling sparks. What about those? Whose voice is that?
It's actually also Marco. It's Marco. Yeah, like he voiced these two for like he did his first time voice acting, and then actually did already two. And then we also have like the Burning Spark, which was voiced by Leah again, who also did the crafty, I think. Yeah, and yeah, the crafty.
So you can see or imagine at least a bit more of what is happening in the sound room at this office.
I think like one fun thing also comes to mind when we recorded the Burning Spark. Like Leah actually is like quite like you don't know her, but like the team knows her, and it's like she's a really low key person. and very calm and everything. And we really like we had to further this iteration, and we figured out, well, it's not energetic enough for this kind of spark, and we really had to push her to get really loud, and that was really fun.
I might have a backstage recording of that. I think I do. So maybe I'll make some content out of that. And Ollie, you have this unique experience this time that you not only worked on the audio, that's the classic thing, but you also were in charge of some enemy and creature designs. How did those two processes influence each other, the design and audio?
First, I have to say I wasn't in charge. Like actually, Sebastian was, but we all collaborated on it, and yeah, it was really cool for me actually because so this was the first time working on enemy designs, and in comparison to working on enemies last time, it was like I was like immediately had an idea of how they should sound because I was part of creating the vision in the first place, and during like figuring out the design with everybody, like I already could think of like how well this could use this sound, and so it was really nice how this whole thing correlated with each other.
I think that creature that we just encountered, that is your creation as well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That is. What about it? Is there something we need to know about it?
So it's called the lava shellhorse. I actually have to look on a little note here because we all have like these internal names that we use for weeks now, and now just came up with the final names, and yeah. Anyway, yeah, it has a big fire attack, like it's that it does in a certain radius, and you really have to avoid that. And other than that, as you can see, it leaves this trail of lava, which you should also avoid. Otherwise, you or your sparks will get burned. And yeah,
On
it
fire?
has a shell.
Yeah, that can happen, so watch out.
Yeah, it's also maybe, as you can see, like we put a bit more effort in, or like thought a bit more about that the player itself can be damaged, or like consider that a bit more than before. So really have to be careful when playing that you're not just watching out for your sparks, but also that your player character isn't killed in the process.
That is good and important to know. And also, I have a question to Lucas, as the one in charge of the visuals. How did you came up with the idea to connect the fire and fire enemy and a sea creature?
I mean, there are only so many categories of animals in the world that are cool to combine, that are still kind of relatable. We first thought about deep sea creatures, but they are all super alien, and you really quickly get into uncanny valley direction. So yeah, it's not. There are many animals to combine, but yeah, to combine something that comes out as somewhat relatable or realistic in this world is a challenge. So yeah, I think the first idea was to have kind of a slug type enemy, and then Trix came up with a really cool concept in the concept phase to combine it with a kind of a seahorse front, and we kind of like just went with it, and because we liked the visuals of it so much.
And speaking of coming again to this area, I would like everyone in this chat to have some small kind of like a takeaway. You probably already made some notes of what to use when you play the update. So I have a question again for all of us in this chat. Also have a small piece of input. So what would be your advice to somebody who is just coming into the hot area? What is the first thing to do? What is the best first thing to do to make your life easier?
I think the most important, if you want to sort of get used to it, go into it like making sure that you have a good train connection is probably the best, because obviously you now have all of this extra place to explore. You can't build you cannot build a train inside of the caves, but just making sure that you have stuff coming in nearby for all of your just all of the production lines that you're going to build, so you can go inside and needing to manage and to also know that. So the game tells you of one cave entrance, but there will be each should have there's three, and you can find the second one kind of further up north, and it'll be good to have both so you can connect those. And yeah, I think that's probably the thing. Find the second cave entrance and make yourself a space to make sure that you can connect things inside and get stuff out of the cave or get stuff into the cave. That's probably the thing that you want to do and figure out.
I love that you say, watch out for a good train connection coming from a German development team.
That is very, very relatable, and I would say in a painful way. Wally, what about you? What would you do first when you come to this area?
Yeah, generally come prepared. I think like if you played through the previous tiers, then you already have set up all the automation that is necessary. And but yeah, if not, like make sure all resources are automated in your supply chest, so you have a good foundation to start. Bring slashies and crashies so you can deal with all the diggables. And yeah, once you're there, just watch out for any hazards. For like, check out, like, have a close look at your environment when you do anything, and try not to get your sparks get burned, because yeah, and when you get them burned, then always remember where gas is. That's or this fog is. That's very advisable. There's actually I don't know if it's like too much to spoil. But maybe there's a spark that you could use to prepare in case you get burned. Maybe a spark that could like store like gas.
We already showed that, right?
Yeah, maybe
I
that's
mean, I
part
think
of
we showed like throwing into, like, maybe I missed that. Sorry. Like I know that you can. Yeah, this.
Yeah, that would also be my advice to it's really fun to make use of the puffy spark in the cave, because you kind of accidentally run into burning stuff sometimes, pretty often. So yeah, have a line to produce puffy sparks and all the other sparks, so you don't feel so bad to lose all your stuff in the lava. And yeah, the interaction of the puffy spark cooling down your burning sparks with the puffy sparks is really fun to me and helpful, useful.
So now we have the spark production needs to be on a good level. Then we need to have a good train connection and the production of all other stuff. And I second that with the train connection. When I first played in our internal test, it was like, okay, I first need to deliver everything by train and then everything else. And at least we can have trains on time in the game. Hey, did you hear that? The mushrooms? The sounds? Yeah, that's another thing that will probably keep you amused for quite some time. And we already had some questions from the chat. If you came up with something just now, feel free to share it. And also, if we don't answer your question on the stream, then we're gonna answer it either on social media or in the chat on the servers. The wooden sparks, do they catch fire faster?
Yes. The one basically each the different sparks catch on fire in different rates. And yes, the wooden sparks perhaps understandably catch on fire faster than the other sparks.
We have another question that we have received some time before. Is there going to be an option where you see if you have enough or too little, too few, or too many sparks on the road?
There's probably not going to be necessarily a thing that specifically helps you with that, because I think a part of the game is just to you can kind of see. Yeah, why not? How many sparks and kind of whether they physically bump into each other, because there's too many of them, and visually and using things like the counter are ways for you to kind of figure out whether something is roughly at is the most efficient or not. You should be able to we didn't want to hide things around by numbers. You should kind of already be able to see whether something is working okay, or there's either there's enough sparks just by kind of watching and kind of staring at the game and then like, oh yeah, I could probably put a few more sparks there, right? Or going, let's add a few more, and then waiting until you have a traffic jam and then figuring that out. That's kind of part of the game. But we'll see if there's something more specific later. If there's, obviously, feel free to put stuff on our bugs and feedback channel, and tell us if there's kind of more very specific things. If you have an idea for a path add-on or anything like that, and we can see about putting them in.
Yeah, no, we also heard really good feedback about the multiplayer feature and the fact that you can throw in, pun intended, as many friends as you want. Are we gonna keep it this way without a cap?
Yeah, we're gonna. So I'll like the spiel is that Oddsparks is like you can have up to that we officially support up to 4 players multiplayer. And we don't say that you can only play with up to 4 players multiplayer, because it's just unfortunately at some point supporting like, I don't know, a game where for some reason there's like 50 people playing it at the same time. That's we don't know if we can support that, but feel free to try. I think is kind of the thing in our end. Unless like an actual technical restriction tells us to, we will probably try to keep it. Like we do have an actual hard cap at like around I've already forgotten, around 20, something like that. But other than that, it's just we don't want to hard cap it at like 4 like most games do, because sometimes you have a group of 6 people or whatever, and it's fun to have the chaos of all those friends creating something madness together.
If you manage to stuff even more friends in the game, please tell us, because we want to know. If you have video footage, that's even better, because it's always really, really fun to see. And the next question is for Lucas regarding the Walrun, the one that we just met in the lake. Was the Nessie creature a reference for that?
Yeah. So the concept of Nessie is a concept that you could compare with this. So this creature that is kind of under the water, but it's just coming out when you get too close to it, or when you actually find it. It's a concept that you could relate to that. Yes.
So that person was right. It was somebody writing that, hey, it reminds of this and this, and I said, okay, then we're gonna ask the author whether it was there or not. And the next question is about the sparks again. Are we getting a crafty update?
Yes. In this new update, we will have 4 new sparks. So we've already kind of properly shown off the Drilly spark, the freezing, and the burning spark, but we do also have a new, an upgraded crafty, the handy spark, made of metal, just like all of the other sparks, and all of the other new sparks. And if we go to one of the buildings that we've already placed. So this guy, as you can see, works much faster. So here, 150%, 9.4 per minute, or at temperature 7500. Let's remove these. So at temperature 100. So the idea is that you now have a new spark to up the level of production. Basically, to also make things faster, but also like, hey, maybe previously, maybe this thing is only at 75, so you want to use handy sparks instead of crafty sparks, so it kind of levels things up, or like put things at at each other's pace. That's because that's also kind of the thing that's important. Sometimes you need to be able to figure out like, oh, I want this to work at a specific speed, and then the next spark to work at a specific speed, and we want to give you multiple things that allow you to speed things up, so that everything is roughly then the same speed and works well.
Do you have any more questions in the chat? You can ask even the weirdest, even the craziest stuff. The weirder, the better. If you don't dare to ask something, now is the time. Go ahead. And you can also ask us everything in the chats in the Discord. We lurk there, not all the time, but quite often. The sparks are working. We're also working on the new sparks. I think we're gonna get back to working on the new stuff to deliver it to you as fast as possible. We have the request to add the option to remove the falling snow because it's causing motion sickness.
Yeah, thanks for letting us know. We'll see if we can add it in time. Any more sneak peeks of the Botany? Maybe we can show one thing. Show
And
the
yeah, the treats are gonna happen.
I don't have anything. Understandably, I don't have much to grow, I think. But yeah, the idea is that we have that there's a greenhouse, and there's also we can actually go to. So in the cold biome, a very little sneak peek is that you need to look for these big guys, and you can then plant the arboretum, and here you can grow really big plants, but however, you need to feed them with the feeders separately. So you can just place as many or as few as you want, and then all of them connect up. And like the different plants, there's 3 big plants, and there's a lot of the other plants. But setting this up, unfortunately, this is not very set up very quickly to be able to show it off to you. So I won't show off much more for now.
Thanks so much for joining us for this third odd stream, maybe not too odd. Hope you liked what you saw, and thanks also for voting for us in the Steam Awards.
Yeah, I guess that's it for now. And if you have more questions, you can feel free to ask us then. And yeah, I hope you guys have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.